Barron Trump hadn't planned on stopping at the small-town diner. After hours on the road, driving through quiet country lanes, he was craving a quick meal. The diner sat on the corner of Main Street, a modest place with a nostalgic charm, worn by years of use. As Barron stepped inside, the bell above the door jingled, and the familiar scent of sizzling food hit him right away. He chose a booth in the back, hoping for a moment of peace, away from the constant chaos of his usual life. The diner was quiet, save for a few regulars sitting at the counter, sipping coffee and talking in low voices. As Barron scanned the room, his gaze landed on Helen, the elderly waitress who seemed like she had been working here forever. She moved slowly, deliberately, her steps carrying the weight of years of hard work. It was clear she was in pain, but there was something about her presence, something that spoke of strength, resilience, and the quiet endurance of a woman who had faced countless challenges in her life. Helen's story was one of sacrifice. She had spent her life pouring herself into others, putting her own dreams on hold while taking care of her family. Her husband, Jack, had passed away several years ago, and since then, she had been alone. Her children, once so close, had grown up, moved away, and started their own families. The house she had once shared with Jack now felt empty, a hollow reminder of the life she had lost. Yet Helen never complained. She carried on, day after day, surviving, doing what she had to do to keep going. When Helen brought Barron his meal, she paused for a moment, a soft smile playing at the corners of her lips. "How's the food, dear?" she asked, her voice soft but warm, despite the exhaustion that clearly weighed on her. Her tired eyes sparkled briefly as she looked at him, but there was a subtle hint of sadness beneath her kind gaze. Barron smiled back, his heart warmed by her sincerity. "It's great, thank you. I've been on the road for hours. This is exactly what I needed." He glanced at her hands as she placed the plate in front of him. They were rough, worn from years of work. He noticed the slight tremor in her fingers. "You're welcome," Helen replied, though there was something in her voice that made Barron pause. Her tone was kind, but there was an undertone of something deeper. Pain, perhaps. Or maybe it was loneliness. Barron set down his fork, leaning back in his seat. There was something in the way she moved, something in the quiet grace of her that made him wonder if she was hiding a secret. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. His question was soft, but there was a weight to it, as though he was asking more than just about her health. Helen's smile faltered for a moment. She hesitated before answering, her eyes momentarily looking down at the table as if searching for the right words. Then she lifted her gaze and forced another smile, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Oh, I'm just tired. You know how it is. Life goes on, doesn't it?" Barron could tell she wasn't being entirely honest, but he didn't push her. Instead, he leaned forward a little, lowering his voice just enough so that only she could hear. "You don't have to pretend with me, Helen. I can see that you're carrying something heavy. What happened?" Helen's eyes widened slightly, and she blinked rapidly, as though trying to hold back the flood of emotions that had suddenly risen to the surface. She shook her head slowly, her lips pressing together in a thin line. For a moment, she seemed lost in her own thoughts, her eyes distant. Then, without warning, her voice cracked. It's just been hard," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Losing Jack was the hardest thing I've ever been through. I never thought I'd be alone like this." She paused, glancing at Barron, her eyes filled with a mix of vulnerability and quiet strength. "We had plans, you know. We were going to travel, maybe even buy a little cabin up in the mountains. We were going to grow old together." Barron's heart ached as he listened to her. He didn't say anything right away. Instead, he simply sat there, letting the silence settle between them, allowing her to gather her thoughts. Helen continued, her voice trembling now. "But life doesn't always go the way you expect, does it? People leave, dreams fade, and you're left here, alone, wondering how it all slipped away so fast." Barron felt a knot tighten in his chest. He wanted to tell her everything would be okay, but he knew that words like that often felt hollow in moments like this. So instead, he simply said, "I get it, Helen. I really do." Her gaze softened as she looked at him, and for a brief moment, the sadness in her eyes was replaced with something else, something close to gratitude. You don't know how much it means to hear that, she said quietly, her voice steady now. Most people just don't understand. They think you're fine, that you're just getting on with it. But sometimes it feels like you're carrying the world on your shoulders. Barron felt a deep, inexplicable connection to her. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel like the one with all the answers. In this moment, he was just a man, listening to a woman who had lived a life full of pain and sacrifice. I don't think anyone truly understands what it's like until they've been there, Barron said, his voice filled with a quiet sincerity. But I do know one thing. You're not alone, Helen. Not anymore. Helen blinked, as though she hadn't expected him to say that. She looked at him for a long moment, the weight of her emotions apparent on her face. Thank you, she whispered, her voice thick with tears she was trying to hold back. You don't know how much that means to me. It's been so long since anyone said something like that to me. Barron reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out his wallet. He didn't just take out money. He removed a thick stack of bills and placed it on the table, along with a small piece of paper. It wasn't much, but it was something to show Helen that she was seen. Helen's eyes widened as she saw the money, and then she noticed the note tucked beneath it. She picked it up, unfolding it slowly, her fingers trembling as she read the words. For the dreams you put on hold. It's never too late to start again. You are an inspiration. Barron Trump. Her breath caught in her throat, and before she could stop herself, tears welled up in her eyes. She wiped them away quickly, embarrassed. But Barron could see it. He could see the release, the sense of validation in her expression. I can't, she began, her voice faltering, but she didn't know how to finish. Instead, she reached across the table, gently touching Barron's hand. Thank you. Truly. This is more than I could ever ask for. Barron smiled softly, his heart filled with a quiet joy. You deserve it, Helen. You've given so much to everyone else. It's time for someone to give something back to you. Helen nodded, her grip on his hand tightening for a brief moment before she released it. I don't know what to say. This changes everything. She looked up at him with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. You've given me something I thought I lost a long time ago. Hope. Barron stood up, pulling on his jacket. He gave Helen a final, meaningful look. Take care of yourself, Helen. You've earned it. And remember, it's never too late to follow your dreams. You've got time. As Barron walked out of the diner, the weight of his own thoughts settled over him. He hadn't expected to find anything profound during his stop at the small diner. But as he stepped into the quiet night, he realized that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can make the biggest difference. Helen watched him leave, her heart full. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Her life was far from perfect. But in that moment, she knew she wasn't invisible. Someone had seen her. And that was enough to make her believe, just for a little while, that maybe the best chapters of her life weren't behind her after all. Let's keep the conversation going. Subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts below. Your perspective is valuable and might inspire others.